The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
Instead, we get the full-length version of the theme song, and the lyrics of that tell us the story. I believe that I said unstead. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Rider, and welcome to another Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills episode review. It's the second half of a NinjaBot twofer, but I found the other half of the premise to be much more interesting. From the very start, the Sentinels have insisted that while they are battle comrades, they are not friends. But what if they were? Let's find out by taking a look at the 29th episode of TTAF, Winner Takes All. Please make sure you're subscribed to my channel to see all of my videos. Ring the bell, get your notifications set up so you're notified of whenever I post brand new videos. And if you're interested at all in lending any financial support to my channel, please consider checking me out on Patreon or Ko-fi at Orange Ranger Videos. Well, let's just kick things off with a nice big change right off the bat, huh? This episode introduces us to a brand new version of the opening credits. Nimbar's narration is gone. Kind of sad for me. I know I've said I don't like those in Power Rangers, but his had kind of a weird, cheesy charm to it. Instead, we get the full-length version of the theme song, and the lyrics of that tell us the story. Okay, this is something I have to address, if only this once. The one time the show did not start on the planet Molecula, I noticed that with the title sequence, the stars were moving towards the camera. They were in this episode as well, so I thought, it's happening again. But then Molecula slid into view. Here's the thing, if we're moving towards the stars, thus making it look like they're moving towards us, that means we're also moving closer to Molecula, which means that it should be getting bigger in the camera view. But it doesn't, it just slides straight into place, horizontal, never size changing. So that would mean that the planet was orbiting away from us as it moved into frame in perfect sync with the speed that we were moving towards it.
Nerd! Get on with it!
Sorry. So apparently Gorganis is so tired of getting beaten that it's actually making him physically ill. He summons NinjaBot, with no mention of it being a traitor from what was apparently the previous episode. Then he gives NinjaBot a TM. Seriously, he hands NinjaBot a CD and it portals to Earth. So now I've got Grunt NinjaBot trapped in my head and we're just gonna need to move on. At the cafe, Drew and Lori are talking about how it's kind of crazy that they wouldn't hang out with each other if they weren't Galactic Sentinels, and even how weird it is that they've saved each other's lives more than once, but avoid each other at school. Not that they actually do avoid each other at school, but anyway, the two of them agree to actually be friends. Gordon walks up, completely on board with this idea from sort of a combining great minds would be best for business angle. The three of them approach Swinton, who is cautious about this at first, making sense because he's the least desirable friend, so to speak, but eagerly agrees once convinced that they are serious. Their tattoos flash and the four of them head upstairs together to the bathroom.
They realize friendship's more important!
So here's an interesting little twist to all of this. Nimbar tells them about NinjaBot, who once again seems to be just waiting for them to show up. He urges great caution, but hey, the Sentinels are friends now, they've got this. Nimbar is not enthusiastic to hear this, warning the Sentinels to not allow their friendship to interfere with doing their job. The Sentinels arrive and demonstrate their newfound friendship by doing a little choreographed martial arts routine. NinjaBot is so impressed that it surrenders immediately. No, of course, this is part of the plan. He puts his sword down, gives them the CD, and then leaves. Returning to the cave, they view the CD, and it's a video message from Emperor Gorganis. He offers the Sentinels a duel.
Number one, the challenge demands satisfaction.
Tired of the fight, Gorganis says that this should be settled by a contest between champions. One Sentinel versus one of his creatures. The winner gets Earth. I predict that the Sentinels are going to absolutely agree to this, despite not having any reason to trust Emperor Gorganis or having any reason to agree to that stipulation. I'm getting good at this. Gorganis says that the duel will be fought under the rules of Gonar, which Nimbar later explains means they're not allowed to use any electron or laser firing weapons, and other than that, there are no rules. Of course, all 4 Sentinels volunteer to be Earth's champion. Since Nimbar realizes that they are resolute in doing this, he suggests a tournament between them to decide the champion.
Excuse me, the f did you just say?
You're telling me we have the possibility of seeing Sentinel versus Sentinel combat, and then the winner is going to take on NinjaBot in a fight that by its very rules won't allow them to just lean on any kind of weapon shooting lasers? I have never been more on board. Nimbar says that the tournament is going to start in 3 days. Seems like a bit of a long time to wait, but hey. At the cafe, the Sentinels discuss the format of the tournament since Nimbar said that they could make the rules. They decide on a round robin. Each Sentinel will fight the other 3 once, and then the Sentinel with the most wins is the champion. They don't mention a potential tiebreaker, seeing as you could have 2 Sentinels finish 2-1, but I would imagine something like fastest victory. They also agree to try and not hurt each other, and to stay friends regardless of who wins. I'm loving this. I'm cautious about it. It can go by the wayside very quickly, but they're treating each other like friends and being nice to each other and very professional about their job as Sentinels. And what do we get next? That's right, we get a classic, cheesy 1990s training montage set to the show's instrumental theme. There was one weird thing about it, though, that I've just gotta mention. They do a quick cut sequence at the end for the last notes of the song, and the very last shot is of the school hallway with none of the Sentinels in it. The Sentinels go see Nimbar and tell him about their plan for the tournament, and he makes actually a great point. This means that the winning Sentinel will have fought 3 times, facing off against a fresh NinjaBot. Of course, it was Nimbar who suggested a tournament in the first place, so I'm not exactly sure what his idea was. Gordon sarcastically asked if they should just draw straws instead. And that's exactly what they're going to do. For some reason, they return to Drew's to do this, even though we've seen that Nimbar can extend that gross hand of his and do that right there in the cave. Lori draws the short straw, meaning that Scorpio is Earth's champion. This is where things start to fall apart, as Gordon is very butthurt about this, even saying that they should draw the straws again. And while Drew says that the result is final, even she seems to be a bit bitter. There's a scene in the cave that's kind of pointless, so let's just fast forward to the fight. As I was expecting, without zappy laser effects every 5 seconds, we actually get a really exciting fight scene. Scorpio eventually wins through, but Nimbar predicts that Gorganis is not going to give up that easily. And indeed he does not, and we get another first for this show. Gorganis portals to the battlefield. He tries to disqualify Scorpio, saying that she used her sword, which is an electron-firing weapon. She says that her sword is not programmed to fire, which is something that Gorganis was not aware of. He gives NinjaBot back its sword and tells it to zap her up what good. Well, the rules of Gonar are straight out the door at this point, so the other Sentinels portal to the battlefield. Their weapons are not dezappified. Not that it really matters, since they almost immediately form Nitron. The most useless shield in the galaxy gets knocked away, and the 2 zap at each other. But suddenly, Nitron remembers that that shield is a shield, and not just a giant dinner plate. It resummons it, using it to deflect NinjaBot's lightning right back at it, which confuses it. It does not hurt itself in its confusion, as Nitron just takes care of that itself, winning the fight. In the cave, it all collapses as predictably as a souffle during an earthquake. The Sentinels realize that they dodged a bullet, but say that they made the mistakes that they made as a team of friends. When Nimbar says, yes, they all did make mistakes, Gordon tries to weasel out of blame, saying that he knew that Gorganis was lying, but went along with the plan to preserve their friendship.
Shut up, Wesley.
That tips over all the dominoes and they all start screaming and bickering at each other again until Nimbar tells them all to work as a team and to get the heck out of his cave. Let's just read the signs, I guess. Episode 29, Winner Take All. Pros, another creative premise with real stakes, actual friendliness between the Sentinels, and quality fight scenes. Cons, another set of stakes that mean nothing, the friendliness overed quickly though, and bringing back the zaps. It's the ultimate demonstration of wasted potential to have each of the pros disqualified by the corresponding con. Winner Takes All gets 3 signs out of 5. So since the pros and cons match up this week, this time I want to take them in sets of 1 each to help explain each of them better. So we'll start with the fact that this episode had another very creative premise. I feel like at this point they were trying to up the stakes every week. It couldn't just be fighting a monster anymore. Now we have to establish that Earth is on the line every single time. It was very creative of Gorganas to try to find a different way to capture the Earth. A one-on-one fight, winner takes all.
Roll credits.
That being said, it clearly doesn't end up meaning anything because we knew from the start that Gorganas wasn't going to abide by it. It really lessens the impression of the Sentinels' intelligence that they take Gorganas' word at face value even when Nimbar warns them not to. And it's just back-to-back episodes that started with a really interesting premise that just dissolved right back into see you next week. It was so nice to actually see the Sentinels acting as friends. They did hammer it home a little bit too much here and there, constantly mentioning, we're friends now, we're doing it like friends, doing things together like friends. But the bickering had gotten so annoying and tiresome that it was just such a breath of fresh air to see them actually admitting that they're friends. And then it all just falls apart by the end of the episode. You can almost picture the writers just sitting next to you with this just knowing smile on their face and going, come on, you knew it was too good to be true. It feels like people at the time were starting to get tired of the Sentinels' constant bickering. So the writers said, fine, we'll write an episode where the Sentinels are friends. And then see how stupid this is? No, I don't. It was nice. I have criticized this show for its overuse of zappy-based visual effects before, and not just because they're about as good at them as I am, and that's really not saying much if you think about it, but more because they over-rely on them. It is the wrong kind of cheesy to have a sword, hand axes, an actual axe, and a staff that all fire lasers. So for them to set up, hey, no firing beams this time, was exciting. And indeed, we got some good hand-to-hand and weapon-based combat. But yet again, it feels like they were just trying to show us how boring that would be, and they bring back the zappy visual effects right at the end. The Adobe Premiere lightning and the laser beams firing from the end of a sword. It's a cruel irony because I feel like the show was actually pretty good with practical fighting, but they just seem to think their flashy laser effects were so much cooler. This episode, and really this show as a whole, just feel like they could have been so much better than they actually were. I feel like it's just an unfortunate product of its time. You have that 90s edginess of, they're not friends, and this over-reliance on special effects, if only just to say that you have them. This episode was pretty decent with some fun elements in it, but I feel like it could have been great. Next time we hit the end of disc 3 of this set, the 3/4 mark of this show. What excitement awaits with so few episodes left? Let's find out by taking a peek at the 30th episode of TTAF, Beverly Hills 902 Oblivion. Dude! The Galactic Sentinels must defend the home front when it is discovered that a Baldarian portal torpedo has been portaled back to the coffee house with them following their fight with Pretoraptor. That's going to do it for another Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills episode review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. Now that the episode's over, you can let me know what you thought of it, as well as my review of it, down in the comments below. And while you're down there, make sure you smack that thumbs up button and let me know that you enjoyed this video. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. Which lyrics itself... And other than that, there are no rules. That being said, it's clear that it didn't mean anything since it just dissolves back into something that is doing this take again.